Made a quarterback change in the second half there. Just felt like our offense needed a spark. Mason wasn't doing enough. Duck came in and provided us the spark, made a couple plays. We'll see what next week holds next week. But I like the contributions of Duck. I like his readiness. I appreciate the efforts of Mason, and also appreciate the support of Mason after we made the change.
Everybody, welcome to the Steelers Roundtable. I'm Missi Matthews. We have a lot to talk about. The Steelers' 16-10 win over the Bengals. The Steelers moving to 6-5. I want to introduce my panel before we start talking all things quarterbacks. Joining us once again, Matt Williamson. I'm glad he wasn't scared to come back. I'm not sure he had a good time the first time, but he is also joined here by Mike Prisuta of the WDVE Morning Show, a contributor of Steelers.com, and also former Steelers outside linebacker Arthur Moats is here. So guys, we have to start about the quarterback. I guess at what point did you guys feel like there could potentially be a quarterback change in that game yesterday?
I was thinking halftime. I didn't like the way he reacted after the interception, which I didn't think was his fault, but it seemed to go off the rails from there. It was a terrible throw to Deontay Johnson in the 2-minute part of the second quarter, and then that throw at the start of the third quarter, I don't think there was any choice to be made after that.
Yeah, I think he kind of left you without a choice, like you said. I mean, one guy is playing with confidence. The other one is very robotic and thinking too much and needs to step away for a little bit, I think.
Yeah, you hit on it, the confidence element of it. I feel like the past two games we've seen Mason out there, mentally he just doesn't look like he's as confident as he should be. Whereas you see when Duck came in, he's playing as if he has nothing to lose. He's playing as if whatever he does is going to be great, this is house money, so to speak. So I think that's the biggest reason why when that second quarter hit, especially that red zone turnover, it was like, all right, you can go ahead and get ready to make this switch.
All right, 3 plays, the 79-yard touchdown that you see right here to James Washington. What did you guys make of what he did after this touchdown?
I think the beauty is Duck's allowing talented young receivers to show that they're talented players. You know, this isn't a wonderful throw. It's not a great quarterback play, but he gets it out on time, and you let somebody be an athlete and show why you used a second-round pick on the guy.
Yeah, well, the thing that I liked when after that play with Duck was his mobility. It was times where we saw the pocket breaking down and Mason wasn't able to escape that pressure. He was forced to have some intentional grounding calls and just overall just like he was holding the ball too long, whereas with Duck, he was able to maneuver out the pocket. And even though it didn't turn into anything spectacular, there was never the threat of that negativity that, oh, it's going to be a sack for somewhere, it's going to be an intentional grounding. We didn't ever feel that way with Duck, so that was the thing that I liked even after that pass to James Washington.
Yeah, he was able to get out of the pocket when he wanted to, and he threw it away. And that's not the worst thing. If you're quarterbacking this team right now with the way the offense is peopled, you're going to want to try to make some plays, but don't make the big mistake. Don't get them killed.
Absolutely.
Don't throw pick sixes. Don't set the other team up, because everybody they play is going to have a hard time driving on this defense the length of the field. So if it's not there, get rid of it, live to fight another day. He looked like he had an understanding of what needed to be done at the time. Was he Johnny Unitas? No, he was not. But, hey, all it took was that one great throw, and that was enough. And it's not going to take a whole lot more than that the rest of the way with the way this defense is playing.
And he has a better feel in the pocket, and he extends plays properly. You know, I mean, if you can get another second here and there and let these guys uncover, you're going to make some plays.
All right, the million-dollar question. If it was up to you, gentlemen, who the Steelers starting quarterback would be on Sunday when the Browns come to town, 1 p.m. matchup at Heinz Field. Arthur, you can go first. Who are you starting?
Man, I think you have to go with Duck. He's the hot hand. Like I said, we saw Mason struggle the past 2 games he's been in. He looks a little rattled. He's not making his reads the way he needs to. And then just from a throwing standpoint, some of his passes haven't looked NFL or varsity level. With Duck, we've seen him come in now for the second game and produce. We saw him do it on the road versus the Chargers. We saw him come in the second half, make the throw he needed to make, and ultimately protect the ball going forward in the rest of that game. So I feel like you ride him until you feel that, hey, that course is sailed. But until then, that's the guy you got to go with.
Matt?
Yeah, without question. I mean, he is the hot hand. He's playing with more timing, more rhythm. I like the term you used, playing with house money. You know, I mean, he has nothing to lose, and that's a good thing. He's not robotic, but teams are going to prepare for him differently. I mean, you know, there's going to be a lot of bodies in the middle of the field. Make him throw arm strength throws outside the numbers. It's not going to be as easy.
Mike?
Yeah, I'll make it unanimous, assuming Tony Dungy's not available. He said something after the game, and he's been pretty humble He's also let his personality come out when he's been called upon, and he's found himself at a podium. He's been fun to listen to, and he's having a good time with it. I think he's doing or acting the way a quarterback should act. But the one thing he said yesterday that really stuck with me was, every time they've called on me, I've provided. And you know what? He's right. He has. And it's not always the prettiest, and it's not always by the numbers, but he got it done against the Chargers. He was getting it done in that Baltimore game until there was a fumble in overtime, which wasn't his fault, and he got it done yesterday when they had to have it. I think you prepare him all week, give him the reps, give him all the support you can. Now, you better have a plan B, and, Mike Tomlin usually does. But for now, full speed ahead with the Duck, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, Coach Tomlin's press conference is tomorrow at noon. Maybe he will let us know. It seemed like he knew last night in Cincinnati at the podium, but didn't want to tell any secrets just yet. But I do want to talk about some of the guys who helped make an impact on offense yesterday. Coach Tomlin alluded to it after the game as well. Let's look at a then and now. I want to go back. This is our week 1 starters, and these are the starters that ended the game in Cincinnati. So do you remember some of those guys in week 1?
Wow, that's stunning.
When you put them side by side, it is, yes, a little shocking to say the least. But there were guys who got on the moving train, as Coach Tomlin likes to say. Kareth White, Deon Cain, they were your leading rusher and receiver at halftime yesterday. Barely here, just for 1 week of preparation to help the Steelers. So
those two are noteworthy, though, because it really stood out when they made those roster moves a week ago. This offense needs speed. It needs juice. And both those guys brought it. It was obvious that they're playing at a little bit faster level.
And I'll also say this. I think you have to give a big shout out to Kevin Colbert in the scouting department, because remember the whole conversation going into the signing of Deon Cain was it's other big name receivers that were available through free agency that wanted to come back here, but they said that they value guys who have been on active rosters, on practice squads preparing, because they feel that they can have them come in and execute, and they showed on a big way come Sunday.
Yeah, and we just saw the highlight there. This is the only time they threw the ball to Deon Cain. This is a nice play. Little push off, cut inside, go high point it, and come down with it. That's what NFL receivers do. They signed a guy in free agency that had a hard time doing that. Similar body size, similar body type. But the way that I'm going to keep harping on the defense, because I'm just so blown away by how good this defense has become. They just need you to contribute here and there. Nobody has to be the hero on offense. No. Make a play when you can. Don't make mistakes. And if you have a chance to make a play, make it. It might be enough.
And how many of those deep shots did they get this close on all year? I mean, they actually converted one. I mean, it's a big deal.
And that got them a field goal. And that
And then also remember, Deon did get the pass interference drawn on him as well.
That's right.
Yeah, so right there you saw the impact just right away of him coming out there, using that speed element that you talked about in terms of making the offense look faster. We saw how the running game looked early on. Kareth was doing a great job in terms of extending plays, making guys miss, and ultimately keeping the offense on schedule.
And I can't imagine what those guys went through, being on a practice squad of one organization all year, and then get on a plane, go start practicing,
go
here's
play
a helmet, go play, and oh, by the way, this counts. I mean, hats off to those guys,
and
really.
not just play, but you're going to get the ball.
Yeah.
Think about that. Those guys, they were involved in the offense.
And the coaches for getting them ready, and the rest of the team for helping to get the process rolling. That was really people say that was the Bengals, they're winless. That was really impressive on a lot of levels.
Well, and I think when you
it was really lacking on some levels.
Well, that's fair.
But it was impressive on a lot of levels.
All perspective, man.
They
all
were
perspective.
fortunate Cain was available, though. He's a pedigree guy. I mean, he was a good prospect coming out of college. He might be a keeper for more than just the remainder of the year. Get used to seeing him.
All right, we have a lot more to talk about here on the Steelers Roundtable, including Pittsburgh's defense. We'll do that right after the break. Don't go anywhere.
For me, I mean, they've seen me play. I got to play against the Chargers, and they know that I can get the job done. You talk to a bunch of guys on defense, and, they'll tell you that I'm out there competing against them in the scout team each and every week. So I know there's a lot of confidence, and I'm just glad to go in, get the spark, and get the win.
It's all team play, all team play. Like you said, we come out and, we're not getting things going on offense, and, now we get a new spark coming out the half, and, we feed off of that.
All right, well, it certainly wouldn't be a Steelers roundtable if we didn't show some love to the Steelers defense. And what we did today, we all picked a different player, somebody who made an impact not only in Cincinnati, but throughout the first half of the season as we finish out the regular season coming up and prepare for the Browns on Sunday. So, Arthur, you are first. Who did you pick and why?
Yeah, so for me, I was picking based off of this game mainly, but Joe Hayden, I thought that he did a great job in terms of his coverage. Granted, Tyler Boyd did make the great play on him in terms of scoring the touchdown, but from then on, you saw Joe getting his hands on a ton of footballs, even though he should have caught a ton of them as well. And he knows, yes, he knows it, and he knows if I see him, I would tell him the same thing because that's our expectation for him. But ultimately, just seeing how he's continuing to get better each week. He's dealt with some injuries, but seeing how he's just continuing to come back and be productive, be active in coverage, and ultimately be disruptive out there, that's the thing that I think is huge in terms of his availability and ultimately for this defense to continue to keep being successful.
All right, Matt, who did you go with?
He also brings a lot of leadership to the table, too.
without a doubt.
And I went with Bud Dupree. Over the last couple of years, a lot of people have been critical that this defense is, yeah, it's talented, but it doesn't make the big play at the big time. And I thought he came up with a huge play. He's winning one-on-one matchups with much more consistency this year. He's about to become a really rich man, and hopefully from the Steelers, and deserved every penny.
Mike,
Ask me who I went with.
who did you? I'm saying Mike. Like, who did you go with?
Who did you go with?
I went with.
Why?
I went with the right choice. Bring that thing in here. Yeah, give me a shot. I'm about to preach a little bit. Devin Bush. Now, you just saw the clip. Did you see the blood in Devin Bush's mouth? He looked like he had played linebacker after that game. I got a chance to interview him on the field for the immediate wrap-up show, and he was hugging Benny Snell and just reveling in that team victory. You can tell he's all in, but the reason I picked him is this play you're seeing now. This is what this defense has to do. It has to take the ball away. They didn't do it in New England, and they lost. They didn't do it in Cleveland, and they lost. Now, Devin Bush, as he explained this play to me, he said it was a crossing route that became a wheel route. He said once it became a wheel route, he was in, as he put it, trail phase. Now, Arthur, I'm guessing that means he's got the underneath and somebody's supposed to have the over the top, and they got the ball right in the middle where they're supposed to. But he chases that down and finds a way to get that ball out. I mean, they're about to tie the game. They're about maybe ready to take the lead. And we could be having a whole different conversation right now. Devin Bush came up with the play when they had to have it. And last but not least, I saw he joked on Twitter. He said, "My first dub in Ohio."
Oh, I knew you'd love that.
I almost brought that up to him on the field after the game, and I thought, nah, that would be insensitive and unprofessional, so I didn't do it. But now that he's brought it up first, congrats on that first dub in Ohio. Took a while, didn't it?
Many more to come.
Well, and the whole punching the ball out thing, that is something Coach Tomlin preaches every practice out here at the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex. And that's something, even Joe Hayden is always reminding the guys, something they work on a lot. So, and I think we have seen success with it translating into games this year.
I mean, they're very good at it, right? And again, let's go back to the way the offense is, no Ben Roethlisberger, right. No Juju, no James Conner. You can only get what you can get out of what's left. The defense has got to take the ball away.
There's so much speed on the field.
No question.
Right.
The speed is crazy. But the thing that, going back to that Devin Bush play that I loved, was it showing his finish. In terms of, he was beat, right? In terms of being in troll mode, but having to chase him down, but understanding that, hey, to finish this play, let me punch at the ball. And it reminded me of what we saw from him early in the year versus Seattle. The tight end, I think it was Will Dissly at the time. He's catching the pass like it should be a completion, a big game. But what does he do? He fights to the end and ultimately takes away for the interception. When you're seeing young guys like Devin finish, that lets you know from a mentality standpoint that he understands the significance of these plays. He understands the significance of these moments, and that's something that can carry you on for years to come. So that's the thing that stands out to me the most when I look at Devin on film.
You're going to get beat at times.
Oh, no question.
Right.
Yeah,
That's the way the world
happens,
is.
Yeah.
All right, I went with the easy pick. I let you guys go first. I went with Mika Fitzpatrick. I was torn between him and Cam Hayward, but finishing off what Devin Bush was able to do, it does really feel like Mika is always around the football. He's quiet, he's studious. I mean, he really is. And just with 8 games with the Steelers, 28 takeaways for the Steelers, he has been part of 8 of them.
And how about you make a point, you make a point, you make a point, I made a point, and nobody said Cam Hayward.
I know.
I mean,
I was torn of not picking one.
There was a million.
There's a lot to pick,
And it's like that all the time. This defense, I mean, I know probably people look at that game and they see the offensive struggles and the low score. I was just fascinated watching that defense play. And the longer, I'm like, wow, can they really keep this up? Are they going to hold everybody they play to 10 points, 7 points, 3 points? Are they going to figure out how to get this done?
Well, that's
fun to watch.
That's the thing that I'm excited about is because when you're watching this defense, they're proving week in and week out that not only can they execute at a high level, but they're going to get turnovers. That's becoming an expectation. We're going to these games like, okay, is it going to be 1 or is it going to be 2 or 3 turnovers? Are they going to score on defense? It's not, hey, are we hoping that they do it? And I think that's the biggest difference we're seeing with this team from a defensive standpoint. When you talk about other elite level defenses that we've seen throughout the years, the expectation of multiple sacks, multiple turnovers, and that's what you're seeing consistently from this group, and that's the thing that's so exciting.
The other thing that's been different than other years is those guys game planning throughout the week. How do I attack that Steeler D? There's not a soft spot.
It's not.
That's a good thing. And going back to your point, Arthur, just being down on the sidelines during the game, Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, every time before that defense goes on the field, it's, hey guys, let's not just get the ball, let's score too. That is their mindset. They're not just saying, let's get the takeaway.
Right.
We want to score points for the Steelers offense. So they've been fun to watch this season. I'm sure we will talk about them much more, but we are going to take a quick break. When we return, everybody on the panel will be opening up our time capsules to see how our predictions heading into the Bengals game went. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You know, we can create our own offense as a defense. You know, offense creating defense is not a good play, but a defense creating offense works in our hand, and sometimes we think we can get points on the board. We were trying to get that safety, and it was close, but you know, we just keep fighting for those plays, those game changers on defense.
Welcome back to the Steelers Roundtable, everybody. It's time for our time capsules. So let's see how well everybody did. I think we have a pretty bad record this year. So, Matt, yours is first. The Steelers have 3 or more interceptions in this game.
Yeah, and I was wrong, obviously, but I feel somewhat justified. I thought with his arm strength and the team speed, they would be jumping passes left and right. They had some opportunities. We talked about your guy Hayden. They caused a lot of fumbles. They didn't have good fumble luck, but I wasn't too far off.
Okay. All right.
Wait a minute.
That's good-ish. Good-ish, I guess.
You said they were going to have 3 interceptions.
Or more. Or more. There's 0.
Yeah.
I wasn't that far off. But I
Joe
nailed it.
Hayden almost had
He had 2. Joe should have had 2.
Come on, right.
Yeah.
I nailed it for sure.
All right, Moats.
Uh-oh.
4 sacks total for Bud and TJ.
Got it right.
You nailed it.
Well, listen, man, when you looked at what they were doing, the pressure they were causing, I felt like I was justified in going into this game thinking that, and I do think that, as you see on the tape, they were productive, and not only did they get sacks, they got forced fumbles as well.
So that's close. See the
Boom.
difference?
Prisuta's here to be
go
the
out
ref.
as weak a limb as I did either. 4 sacks, that's nothing.
All right, I'm ashamed to tell you
do?
because this was not a good one.
Uh-oh.
I said Mason will rebound. I really thought this was going to be one way or the other. Either, you know, it was a tough week for on-the-field reasons, off-the-field reasons. I thought this was either going to be, all right, the comeback game for him, get rid of that Cleveland taste in your mouth, or what happened where switch a quarterback. So we're going to move on.
Close.
No, I was not close.
He had a whole half. That's, you know what I'm saying? Difference. Yeah.
I'm not even going to
We're
try
grading
to.
on the curve.
I'm not going to try to swing that one. All right, Prisuta, what did you say?
I
The
took the
team that
low-hanging-
runs
yeah.
more wins. The team that runs more wins the game.
Oh, gee.
I took the low-hanging fruit.
Not
well,
bold. Come on.
I was way off the last time I did this.
So you had to feel good about yourself?
In a game that was not
They let you go with that?
a game
said,
that
"Let
was
me get a
not Brady against Manning, I decided running the ball was going to be a big deal. So I took the easy route. But
Brought
The
lots of
team that
table
scores
there.
more points is
Right.
going to win next
and
week.
and
That's
yet
my
one of
bold
us was correct, and the rest of the Yins are making excuses. So.
The rest of yins.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. All right, well, we have a big week coming your way. The Browns will be in town on
Look at that running
Sunday.
game, baby.
It's
Run the ball.
Thanksgiving.
Run the ball.
Oh,
Whoever
man.
wins the turnover battle.
Whoever scores more will be victorious come Sunday. I
We're-
guarantee it.
We're going to have to maybe rethink this time capsule thing if this is how we're going to go. But
Bar's got to be a little higher.
Yeah, man. No
Yeah.
conservative right here. You
Hey, I
can't
was
go
close.
conservative.
I was close as you.
all right, thanks so much for joining us here today on the Steelers Roundtable. Don't forget Coach Tomlin's press conference Tuesday at noon. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you next time.